When Elizabeth Braddock was introduced as the sister to Captain Britain in 1976, she was written as her own character, full of unique lore and interesting backstory, which was well received at the time. However, the character stagnated in terms of importance and was later used as a plot mechanism for a particular comic story which was never finished. But the speculative scenario is this: Psylocke isn't Japanese. She's British. Originally, Elizabeth Braddock was introduced as a supporting character by Chris Claremont from the United Kingdom imprint of Marvel Comics. From the British point of view, there weren't much telepaths, so she was depicted with psychic abilities. Due to the supporting nature of Elizabeth to Captain Britain, her exact abilities or to the extent of her particular powers were meticulously explained. Throughout this time, development with the character by writers was sparse, and Elizabeth Braddock was occasionally used or even forgotten within the greater scope of Captain Britain comics at the time. Increased usage and importance throughout the 1980s hardened that through circumstances Elizabeth was shifted and transformed into a woman of Chinese origin with the particular title of Lady Mandarin after being kidnapped by the Hound organization. The Mandarin dealt with the Hound, and as an aspect of gratitude, Elizabeth was given to the Mandarin as originally he himself was of a biracial heritage, his father being Chinese and his mother being English. So necessarily Elizabeth in a Chinese body but of an English background was a likeness to the Mandarin's own background. Written as part of a deeper comic art by Chris Claremont, he was later removed as lead writer from the Uncanny X-Men in 1991, and the story arc wasn't finished according to the original plans. In 1992, writers and artists later assigned to the X-Men after Chris Claremont salvaged and modified his incomplete stories and did what they could. The situation with Elizabeth Braddock as Lady Mandarin was reconned, and through further events had the body of hers being that of a Japanese assassin named Kwanan, of reference to the Bodhisattva. The Japanese angle with the psychic abilities to Chris Claremont writing the X-Men on for this particular depiction of Elizabeth Braddock was well known for incorporating Japanese aesthetics into the uncanny lore, which was well received by readers for nostalgia as well as the edgy writing of the 1990s, which had serious and casual readers all identify or be curious with the Asian-bodied Elizabeth Braddock. But even through the 1990s, there were criticisms of Psylocke from readers who knew of her true yet neglected origins for the body swap. Due to Betsy being neglected in the Captain Britain comics, the character received much more needed lore and in-depth story expansion throughout the 1990s, and as a result was one of the most popular X-Men characters in the decade of the 1990s as well. From information now known, despite the canon era of the body swapping, Elizabeth as Psylocke did many things in affiliation to the X-Men. Writing of the character throughout the 1990s had her completely masquerade as a Japanese woman, and casual readers knew nothing of her origins as well as the circumstances of the body transfer. However, through the 2000s, there was a reinterpretation of the entire situation with the body swap, and a more ethnically aware readership base when considering the X-Men comics. Through the particular situation that occurred, overall writing from Marvel Comics in the 2000s declined, and eventually it was suggested by Marvel leadership for the X-Men comics that Elizabeth Braddock be put back into her British body once again. But the restoration and reinterpretation of Elizabeth Braddock in her own body, and Kwanan also being put back into her own body with assistance from other X-Men characters, righted an incorrect canon-based error. In a final aspect of continuity, in reference for decades of Elizabeth Braddock being in a Japanese woman's body, most of the stories or lore has had her become a somewhat specialist in relation to Japanese culture, beliefs, or customs due to her time as an Asian woman. Compared to her writing from the 1990s with her outright glorifying her Japanese appearance, to modern writing of the 2020s with her accepting her British origins and Japanese aesthetics, as Psylocke she now appreciates or more importantly acknowledges herself equally.